So we'll just start. Yeah. So obviously today was a great day, I think, for Newfoundland and Labrador and our energy future and energy potential. Obviously, the Prime Minister was here, and he's been a great friend of Newfoundland and Labrador in his short tenure as Prime Minister. And certainly look forward to working with him into the future. And the things we've talked about today, I mean, he's been very focused on nation-building projects throughout the country. And certainly he's well aware Newfoundland and Labrador has a lot to offer. As he said today, Canada has a lot to offer the world, and what I said to him is that Newfoundland and Labrador has a lot to offer Canada. And certainly the big ones that we talk about, Bay du Nord, our offshore oil development must continue. And of course the Churchill Falls deal, when we look at what that can mean for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians and what it can mean for all Canadians. And the Prime Minister certainly listens to that, and he's very aware of that, and he's anxious to get these projects moving as fast as we can. I think the interesting thing for me today is when I've been speaking to him about those two projects specifically, we had the opportunity today to talk about other energy opportunities as well, such as gas and such as onshore wind, which is a new discussion that I've had with him, and it certainly was great to be with Charlene today as well, that she could talk about those projects, those potentials for Newfoundland and Labrador, and she certainly made that clear to the Prime Minister that we have lots of opportunity and lots of potential here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, it was a great meeting. I mean, anytime you can get an hour of the Prime Minister's time here in Newfoundland and Labrador to talk about all of the energy resources that we can provide to not only Canada but to the world is a good day. He was a very intent listener, took copious notes, asked great questions, and again, it was an opportunity for us to show that our lower carbon energy can supply the world. We have the advantage barrels of oil, but we have the onshore wind and hydro and all things in between. So really, really good meeting.
What does it mean to you to have, say, Gull Island and Bay du Nord on this federal national projects list?
Yeah, so I'm certainly happy to see that they're on the list. I mean, not surprised that they're on the list. When we talk about nation-building projects, and the project between Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador is big and as important as the development of the Churchill River, and of course the project as large as the offshore oil industry with Bay du Nord and Equinor. It's very great to see that the Prime Minister listened to what's important to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And now, of course, one thing I've been saying to the Prime Minister and to my fellow premiers and the people in this province is that those projects are shovel ready. We have proponents, they're ready to go. Just sort of got to finalize some things on the deals to get them done, but they're certainly not concepts of some of the other nation-building projects that are looked at across the country. Don't even know who the proponent's going to be, let alone a timeline for starting our construction and what it looks like. So we're fortunate we have those projects here, and it's certainly great to see that the Prime Minister and the federal government has recognized them.
So finalised some things. I'm just curious specifically.
Yeah, so I mean, Bay du Nord's still working towards sanction on that project, of course, and working very closely with Equinor and our partners across Newfoundland and Labrador to make sure it delivers benefits for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And of course, we have the MOU with Hydro-Quebec and NL Hydro. Everybody knows we're working towards final agreements. Very important that we get the deal right, and the magic really is in those final negotiations to make sure that this deal is what Newfoundlanders and Labradorians deserve, and make sure that we get the full benefit of this resource that's right here in our backyard.
What does Newfoundland and Labrador need from the federal government to get these two energy projects across the line?
Yeah, so I'm going to let Charlene talk about Bay du Nord, but in terms of the Churchill River project, I mean, that project and that memorandum stands by itself without the involvement of the federal government. But as I said to the Prime Minister today, if there's a way the federal government can make things move faster or make it cheaper for NL Hydro, then we're certainly welcome to those discussions. The only caveat being if they're prepared to do anything for Hydro-Quebec, they just need to be equal opportunity for NL Hydro and for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians as well.
Will the provinces be seeking a loan guarantee from the Fed?
We're not even there yet, but again, this project stands by itself. I don't think we're at the stage where we're looking at that type of financing, but certainly one of the key components of the MOU is that Hydro-Quebec is paying for the lion's share of these projects and taking on the risk. So, how Hydro-Quebec decides to fund that, certainly what they will be looking at. But I think that us not having to run the risk of cost overruns to the tune of billions and billions of dollars, and probably a project that we wouldn't be able to afford on our own, is a key component of the MOU, and that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians should be thankful for.
From Energy and Nell's perspective, hearing Bay du Nord and Gull Island on this list really represented the TSN turning point for us. If you look at my 7.5 years here, and the previous federal government, it has been a struggle to even hear the word oil. We've seen Minister Guilbeault talk about Bay du Nord as being probably the last project in Canada. So to see a Prime Minister have Bill C-5 in place, to have a major projects office in place, to talk LNG with Germany, and to have these two projects it's really, I haven't seen this level of opportunity, this feeling of opportunity in a very long time, so it meant a lot for us. In terms of the projects and what it needs to get over the line, we are very supportive of energy projects, provided that they bring benefits to our members, benefits in terms of contracts and in terms of work. So that's some of the conversations that we are working through.
The Prime Minister was also talking about, buying Canadian within the federal government. How could that jive with a possible Beta Nord project, given that their preferred bidder for the FPSO would be Oslo-based? Like, how would you work in benefits for Canada?
Yeah, so we need to continue to have the conversations with Equinor, with BW Offshore, who won that contract with the government, to ensure that we are the primary beneficiary of these projects. This oil is in Newfoundland and Labrador. This needs to be a Newfoundland and Labradorian project. So we're continuing to have those discussions to ensure that we get our fair share.
Did you get any commitments from the Prime Minister today about Newfoundland and Labrador's share of the $80 million for small and medium-sized businesses?
No, I think he was clear when he answered the question today about how that money is going to be divided. And I know the Prime Minister's approach and the Premier's approach at the table is not to pit province against province. It's really to work together and to support each other, come together as Canadians. It's time with a lot of uncertainty in the Canadian economy and the world economy for us to come together as a country. And divvying up $80 million, I don't think is going to be an issue. Certainly that we'll work with our Atlantic colleagues to make sure that everybody gets their fair share. And I think the Prime Minister also said if there's more money needed in the future that he'll be there to help Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. So that's not a question or not an issue I'm concerned with.
Premier, there's still a level of discontent with the group of 9 others. They are out there. I know you've heard their concerns in the wake of Mr. Wilson's resignation. You mentioned at the time that you were welcome to go back to them and you'd ask if there were any concerns. Have you talked to the other members of the panel and any other concerns or anything else expressed?
No, I know certainly from my conversations previous with the panel, they've never raised an issue about the strength of the deal. I think when you look at a deal as big as $225 billion, it's easy to pick apart a piece and say maybe you could have got more, maybe you shouldn't have given so much here, but the deal has to be looked at in totality. I mean, it's $225 billion, multiple mega projects, energy flowing from Labrador to Quebec and down to the States. There's a lot of moving pieces there, so it really does need to be looked at as a whole. And as I continue to look at it as a whole and answer the questions, look at the allegations that are out there, some of which are just not factually accurate, I continue to be comfortable we're moving in the right direction, but also knowing that I appreciate the questions and concerns, and I'll always look at those as we move towards finalizing those agreements. And there's still work to do in finalizing those agreements, like making sure that we get the fair market value for energy that's developed here in Newfoundland and Labrador and being sold outside the province.
Just one other question. Some people have asked, why did we only hear about Mr. Wilson's resignation months afterward? Why wasn't it announced when he resigned?
You had to ask Mr. Wilson that. Yeah, it had, his resignation came. He was replaced by an individual named Guy Holborn, who certainly has a lot of expertise in this field. He was a panelist at the Muskrat Falls Inquiry, so anyone that was following that would certainly be familiar with his expertise. And,
I was just wondering if it was important enough. Do you think it was important enough that the public should know rather than finding out through media?
Again, that was Mr. Wilson, and we did announce that Mr. Holborn was replacing him. Now, that didn't get picked up necessarily in the media, but we were certainly open and transparent about that. There's no secrets here on this project. There's no reason to hide anything. Hiding something to get to April and then finding something wrong with the deal in May doesn't help me, doesn't help Charlene and her members, and it doesn't help Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
The Prime Minister also said that for fire victims from the Kingston fire, people who have lost their homes, that discussions were ongoing. Will a possible election and government going into caretaker mode soon impede any of those benefits for victims? I
think, and I said this to individuals in that part of the province related to the Kingston fire, is that it's going to be a long-term recovery process there. Houses aren't going to be built overnight, and they're not going to be built before the election. But it's important that they realize that the government is behind them and to work with them and to listen to them in terms of what they want their communities to look like as they decide what and what not to rebuild. So that'll take time, and then gathering that information, whether it's now or through caretaking mode and beyond, is going to take some time. And appreciate the Prime Minister's comments today that he's willing to work with them, and he said that as well, that he will listen to what their needs are as we gather that information going forward. Of course, there is a program in place where the federal government will contribute to damage to properties throughout areas affected by the wildfires. And that program is going to be there, again, throughout the election and throughout caretaker mode and beyond as we look to rebuild and recover this part of the province.
Well, we have time for one more.
Apparently, I understand the Prime Minister spoke today of a potential cooperation agreement between the federal government and the provinces related to environmental assessments and possibly making them more efficient. I don't know if you could comment on how something like that could help with fast tracking some of these mega projects.
Yep, sure. So I think what the Prime Minister, and when I spoke to him about it, is in situations or in projects where the federal government has to do an environmental assessment and the provincial government has to do one as well, we're doing two things at once where we could really just streamline it and do one process. Whether it's the federal government or the provincial government that does that environmental assessment, we can come to sort of a cooperation agreement to streamline the process, to take down some of the regulatory issues that may arise, to streamline the process and to get the project sanctioned quicker.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
folks.
everybody. You got it.